that this is helpful for you guys. So I'm Brad Chandler. I'm the middle school pastor. Todd Hampton is going to be jumping in just a second, and we're going to be hosting you guys today. And the hope for this meeting is very similar to what we said when we put a video out on Wednesday. We wanted to put out the new safety guidelines because of the pandemic that's currently going on, and this has been going on for a few months now, just so everybody knows this is what Rush is going to look like. It's going to be different. For those that have been before, this is not how it normally looks, and everyone will know that. For anyone new coming, this is not how it normally looks, just so everyone knows that. But we also want to make sure parents and students and leaders, everybody just kind of gets their mind around a little bit of what this is going to look like, so that everyone feels comfortable, confident, and feels okay with making the right decision for their student and their family. And so we want to give this space for anyone to ask questions about, what that looks like, if there was anything that they read through in the new safety guidelines, or really just have any questions about Rush that they're unsure about and wanted to ask us. We wanted to make sure we gave that space so we can answer as many questions as possible, so that, again, everybody has all the information they need to make a good decision when it comes to going to Rush 2020. So that's the point of this. That's the goal of this. That's the purpose of it. So the way we'll do that is all the questions are going to be directed at me and Todd. Potentially Shannon, who's on our student ministry staff, might jump in and help answer. We might have Brian Case jump in, who's also on our staff, who handles a lot of the administrative side of ministry for us at the church. There might be a couple other people that jump in. For the most part, Todd and myself will be the ones answering the questions. And the one thing we just want to make sure this stays focused on is this is just about Rush and about the guidelines and about things specific to Rush. This isn't meant to turn into any kind of commentary on the pandemic, or anything about guidelines beyond Rush. This is really just about the camp. So with all that said, we're still really excited about the potential of what can happen at Rush. Just like every year, God uses Rush in some huge ways. And so we just want to make sure you guys know we believe in this and we're excited about it and what it could look like for us here in about 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and let me just add to that on the front end. I think for, on behalf of Brad and myself, Lauren and Shannon, our student ministry staff, even beyond our elders, our leadership team at Westridge, I think all of us throughout this whole thing, we have really held tightly and been praying that we would be able to have Rush. I think, for any of you as parents or students that have been before, certainly what a big deal Rush is and has been in the past. And so, this is the biggest event that we do all year long. It is the biggest outreach event that we do all year long. And so, I think for us a couple months ago of moving the dates back to July, I think all along we've been in prayer and just hopeful that God would allow us to have this week. And in part, I think we believe that and hold to that because we've seen the impact that Rush has had in the past in students' lives. And so obviously the life change and the transformation that takes place, we never want to cancel something like that unless we absolutely have to. The other reason too is I think this year and the plans that we've put in place and just in terms of the theme and what we're going to be talking about over the course of the week, different speakers that are going to be coming in and speaking to your student. We just really, really excited about the theme that we've settled on, really excited about what we're going to be talking about. And just, again, the potential for life change is going to take place this year. And so we are, just to mention real quick, the theme that we're focused on is really all about asking students who sits on the throne of their life, who is it that they have centered their life around. And in a culture that is very me-focused, very, me-centric, really trying to get all of us to set our sights on something much greater, much bigger than that, and what it potentially would look like for us to allow God to be at the center, for God to be on the throne of our lives, and just the impact that would have across the board in every area of our life and beyond our own life. And so just really excited about all the different things that go into that theme and what we're going to be talking about. And so, even within this pandemic, even within these guidelines that we've set in place, I think we feel like we've got a really good plan in place that's going to allow us to continue to have Rush, while also still hopefully protecting students from some of the pandemic stuff and some of the things that are out there. And so, so again, I want you guys, I think on the front end, just to be able to understand that, you know, we believe wholeheartedly in Rush and are excited about having it, and feel like there is a really good plan in place for us to keep students safe and that kind of thing, but still allow us to be able for it to still feel like Rush. And so there are certainly some aspects that are going to feel different, like Brad said, but it is still the beach. It is still Daytona. It is in a lot of ways going to still feel like Rush. And so we're excited. Feel like we've come up with a good system in place that's going to allow us to protect students while also it's still feeling like we're at Rush. So I guess with that being said, we just want to kind of open it up to questions that you may have. As you've had a chance to look over the guidelines, as you've had a chance to see, you know, some of the things that we've put in place to hopefully protect students and give them still a great experience. What questions do you have? What things are on your mind that we can maybe help clarify, help answer for you, help give you a better sense of what that's going to look like as you've read that? So maybe the easiest way to do that, I know there is a raise your hand feature in this. So without everybody kind of trying to talk over each other with 90 something people in the chat room, maybe if you've got a question, you can just kind of put up that hand icon, and Brad can unmute you, and then you can go through and ask the question that's on your mind. So we'll just open it up to you guys as parents now about questions that you have. Everybody's looking for the hand emoji. Where is that? Where do I raise my hand?
How do I raise my hand? I can't see everybody on one screen. So if you've got a question, you've already hit the emoji, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and shoot it out there to us.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
How is the drop-off situation going to go? I noticed that you guys had mentioned that we were going to y'all were going to be coming to the vehicles to get our children. So I'm just curious on how you guys are organizing that.
Todd, you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we have anywhere from 15 to 17 55 passenger vans. So that's what we've done over the years. And you know, obviously, just I think to eliminate the mass crowd gathering here for check-in. If you've been through check-in here, it's bananas. So you know, there's a long line out the door, and you know, we're trying to get people checked in that way. So the idea is if we can keep people, you'll get your bus number ahead of time. So we'll communicate that out to you probably a week or maybe even 2 weeks before Rush happens. So you'll know what bus number your student or students will be on. And so as you pull into the church parking lot, we'll have kind of the buses lined up, you know, a little bit further apart, kind of stretched around the parking lot. And so you'll drive your vehicle to whatever bus number your student is going to be on. And then as we're ready for check-in, we'll have our team and even some of our coaches, some of our adult leaders will come around and check you in there from your car. So we'll do all the things that we would typically do in a check-in. So we'll verify, make sure we've got the medical waiver in place. There is an additional waiver that we're asking you to sign this year, just with all the COVID-19 stuff going on. So just making sure we have any necessary paperwork on file. And then from there, it's shirt size, it's, you know, wristband, it's getting you all those details that you're going to need. And so once we've come to your vehicle, checked all those boxes, you've got everything you need, then your student can get out of the vehicle, and we'll help them kind of load their suitcase on the bus, and then they can hop on the bus. So again, it will be different. It'll take a little bit of time, you know, just to kind of get those through. And we're planning on kind of doing the staggered leaving as well, like what we've done in the past. So when you get your bus number, we'll also give you a specific time that you would need to be there to check in. And so we'll try to check in groups of buses at a time and then send them off when they're ready, just to make sure that all 15 buses aren't showing up at the Hilton at the same time. So again, we'll communicate some of those further details as we get a little bit closer to Rush. But generally speaking, that's kind of how check-in will work this year.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
Hey, I have a question. So historically, you guys have had like a large group meeting where everybody gets together and have the games and all that different stuff. Can you kind of explain or give me a little synopsis of how that will look going forward for this trip, since that is the time where they most likely will be, as you know, really close together. And Destiny also has a question.
And we won't be at the Peabody this year, right? If I'm understanding like the guidelines, we won't be at the Peabody. That's all.
Yeah, so I'll answer both those. So we will not be at the Peabody this year. We will be at the hotel for everything that we're doing, both for rooming, for meeting, for eating. Everything's going to happen at the Hilton. And the games are definitely going to look different this year. We're not going to have where everybody at camp is congregated at the same area to do any kind of group competitions like that. We're still going to have competitions as an element of camp because it's always an element of camp. It's fun. We're still working through the plan on exactly what it's going to look like, but it won't be a large group mass gathering. That's the thing I can promise. Exactly what we're going to do, I am not exactly sure what that will be yet. The team's still getting together on that, but it's a good question. Thanks. All right.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Hand raising icon. Our daughters are going. This will be our daughter Bella's 4th year, but it's our daughter Hadley's 1st year ever going.
Yeah.
All of her roommates have backed out. Her group
Mhm.
leader has backed out.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, she doesn't really have any way of connecting. She doesn't feel like, or maybe you can give me some advice on how can she connect with some of the other girls that she could possibly roommate with, or what group leader she could be with before, because I think being her 1st year, and she's not going to be with Bella because she'll be with the high school. She's just really nervous, and we're nervous for her too, because she's, if she ends up in a room with people she doesn't know, or a group leader we don't know. And
yeah,
can you give us some advice on that kind of thing?
Yeah, I can answer that. Part of the reason for us putting the, not only putting the family groups or the small groups together and then releasing that information is in part because of that. So, what makes it a little bit of a challenge is because we're not meeting for student services. So, unless there are relationships that are already there, it's tough to know, who to be with and that kind of thing. So, certainly it's not too late if for some reason things have changed based on registration of friends that your student has asked to to room with and things like that. If any of those changes need to be made, it's not too late to send those to us because we have not done the rooming assignments and the groups yet. So if for some reason you need to change any of that, then you can email us, just rush@westridge.com, and just mention if there's a change in a friend group or something like that they want to room with. Here over the next few weeks, we'll be getting together to start putting those rooms together, those family groups together. And then we will, a few weeks before Rush, we'll release that information. So it is unprecedented that we're doing this. But we also understand that these family groups are going to be even more vital this year. They're going to be more important because you're spending so much time together. And so, we want there to be both confidence in the things that are, in the relationships within that group. Plus too, if you also want to reach out to other students, other families in that family group, if you want to have conversations with other parents, if you want to, get together and try to do some kind of relational stuff, like in your daughter's case, to try to get to know some of the girls in that group, then that gives you, the ability to do that so that you feel a little bit more comfortable going into Rush Week. So it is informational. It is so that okay, these are the students and over the course of the week who my student's going to be with. But if there needs to be conversations just to prepare and plan for that week, then you can do that at that time. So that's probably how I would I guess best advise you on that is if you need to make any changes ahead of time, you can go ahead and do that. And then once that happens, if you want to reach out to any of those families and try to plan some kind of thing to get to know them, you can do that.
Okay.
Rachel,
Yeah.
my daughter is we're kind of in the same situation. Destiny's been going forever, and this will be our daughter's first time too.
Okay.
And she's kind of shell shocked, and we didn't want that surprise. So if you'd like to connect, I would love for them to maybe meet.
Oh yeah.
And, I can share my email address and phone number with you, and
I
they
love
can
it.
get
Yes.
together so it won't be so scary the first year.
That would be awesome. And it'd be so awesome. What if it's a coincidence they actually already know each other? That'd be great.
Right. From church. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'll put my email address actually in the chat because I don't have anything to. Anybody's welcome to it. If any parents out there who know Hadley Heller and you want to reach out to me, we'd be happy to hear any of her friends that are going. Arabella Howard.
I'll do the same as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's cool. And honestly, that is the reason we're going to be releasing the group list out early this year, is completely to help relational connection, as well as for everyone to feel more comfortable going into this year, which again is more unique than any other. So, and nope, everybody out. So the other thing I was just going to mention is with releasing rooms out early, the tendency is then to request changes once rooms are known. And the things with rooms that we just try to help make everybody understand is it's very much a domino effect with rooms. Like one student getting moved from one room to the next affects another room, which affects another room, which affects another room, and it keeps going down the line. And rooms are also how we divide up our small groups. So when things start getting changed around, then it changes everything around, and then it affects way more than what people would think it actually affects, which is why when we release rooms and things like that out there, it's kind of with the understanding that we're not making changes to this. This is just to make sure everybody knows this stuff. So to Todd's point a second ago, if there's anything that any of you parents need to let us know on the front end of that, like making that organizational shift into rooms and into groups, the more information we have, the better, because we can then help enable as much of that as possible. And all of it is a request, and we can't guarantee anything, but at the same time, we try to base everything we do off of a lot of those requests and a lot of those previous relationships that students have with one another and with leaders. We always want people to know each other. I mean, the relationships is one of the biggest parts of Rush. And when I say relationships, I mean just friendships, connections, like getting to know people. So anyway, to the point of just groups being released early, that's to help everybody know each other and for parents to feel comfortable and students to feel comfortable and all those things. It's not necessarily to facilitate a bunch of changes to the things that are getting put out. So I know we had another question. Hand's been up for a while. I don't know a name. It just says iPhone. So I'm going to ask you to unmute and then fire away.
Yes, me and my wife will be volunteering this year. This is our first time.
Yeah.
Also, we was trying to get the medical information. Also, our son, he'll be attending as well. It's his first year. And we wanted to find out how we go about getting the remaining balance.
It's been so long, I can't
It's been so long, we can't remember.
Okay. It's a great question. So anybody who has a question about balances or any Rush questions, anything specific to Rush, rush@westridge.com is the email address that's specific to camp. And you can shoot all those questions to that email address. And that'll be kind of throughout. That's not just for right now. That's not just for any particular window of time. That's anything having to do with Rush 2020. You can shoot an email to rush@westridge.com. That helps us just know all the stuff that's coming into that email account is for Rush Camp. And our team is monitoring that email address too. So we can respond with the information you need if it's a balance, if it's something about medical release forms, which speaking to medical release forms, I know I saw some questions in chat about that. If you mail those out this week and get those to us, that's totally fine. It's not like if it's not in today, anyone's losing their spot for Rush or anything like that. So if anyone wants to mail that in because you haven't turned it into us yet, you can totally do that.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're fine. Go for it.
Are the medical release forms, because I'm on Rush right now, and all it's given me is the form of what to bring and and the cancellation form, I don't see like the actual medical release form. I don't know if I'm looking in the wrong area.
Mhm.
But my question is, what do you guys need on the medical release form? Is it something that we have to bring to our doctor, or is it just a waiver that we need to sign?
It's a combination of a waiver as well as insurance, medical, information. If there was an emergency and we had to take your child to the hospital, it gives us everything we need to help get them treated and to make sure that they're taken care of. So you don't have to take it to your doctor, but it is something to help us in the case of an emergency. I put it in the chat, the actual document. I put it in the chat for this.
I don't know what's wrong with our phones, because I actually looked in my chat as
Okay.
well, and I'm on Rush. My husband's on his phone on Zoom, and I'm on Rush right now paying
Okay.
the balance for my son. But I looked in my chat as well. I don't know if it's our phones because we're out
I
of
think if you
town.
join
and
by
so-
phone, you can't see the documents.
Okay. Well, we've
Okay.
emailed it to everybody who has signed
Okay.
up. So you should have it in your email, but if for some reason you check your email, you don't see it, you can't find it in chat at any point during this Zoom call, just shoot an email to that Rush email address that I mentioned, and we can send you a copy. No problem at all.
TheRush.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because that's where I was on the Rush.com, but I was like thinking.
Oh, sorry. No. I just meant the email address, rush@westridge.com. If you email that,
okay.
we can send you another copy of it if you don't have it in your email.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I think that's about it. We're excited.
Yeah, we're excited.
Awesome. We're glad you guys are coming with us.
Yes, we are too.
Let me real quick. I know some of you guys are asking some questions in the chat, which is totally fine, and we'll get to some of those. Just to kind of go back to the earlier question, I know it was brought up about games and things like that. So just to kind of clarify with the sessions in general, we are, if according to what we put in the guidelines document, we are, for all of our sessions, morning and evening, we're going to be breaking the group into middle school and high school. So typically what we've done in the past is in the morning, for the morning sessions, we've had middle school and high school separate. And then in the evenings, everybody's been in the same room. So, you're talking 1,000 people in the same room at one time. And so for us, in order to minimize those large group gatherings, which is when the sessions, that's when those would happen, we're going to do all of the sessions split in middle school and high school. So in the morning and in the evening, middle school will come in and have their session first, and then high school will follow them right after that. So that way we don't have, 1,000 people in the same room at the same time. In addition to that, we'll also, in terms of how we set up the room, we will have seating that will be staggered and set up in a way to try to maximize social distancing. So it will not be theater style, where everybody's all in there breathing on each other and things like that. So we are going to set up the room for all of the sessions in a way, not only just to break up the group, but also to make sure that primarily those students are sitting in the session with their family group or with their small group. So just so you guys know, just to give a little bit more clarity on how the actual sessions will be broken up, that's how we'll do that. But then within that, we're still going to have amazing worship. Jason and Spencer and the team's going to be down there. We've got amazing speakers lined up. So Pastor Paul and Pastor Brian are going to be there speaking. We've got James Griffin that's going to be there, who spoke this morning. So he's going to be teaching one of the sessions. We've got some great stories lined up that we're going to be sharing over the course of the week. So in terms of just the content of the sessions, it's going to be as amazing as it's always been in past years for Rush.
The only dynamic I can think of in the actual gathering session times that I know is a bummer for all of us, but is we won't be able to do the kind of the mosh pit area where all the students come forward and it turns into a massive crowd right there at the stage. We won't be doing that this year. But overall, the sessions we're really excited about. I think it's going to be a really good experience for everybody when they're in there. I see that hand, Elena.
It's actually, Alana's my daughter.
Oh, I'm very sorry.
It's okay. She had set up Zoom for her classes
Yeah.
at school. Our question is concerning the buses.
Okay.
So are the families sitting together on the buses, or are they just free reign to sit next to whoever, wherever on the bus with 50 people?
No, we are planning to set up the buses. Typically what we would do is, we have the bus numbers marked, and then they just sit wherever. So they can sit with their friends, whatever. But this year, just to try to keep those students in the family group, I know the buses is one of the biggest concerns, mass transit and everybody in the bus at the same time. So we are going to ask students to sit with their group, with their family group, and not just to kind of sit on the bus wherever they want. So that will be a little bit of a change. But again, hopefully everything we're doing is trying to drive those relationships within that group of family. So it serves two purposes. It keeps them safe and protected, but it also allows those relationships to continue to strengthen and flourish over the course of the week. But yes, we will ask them to sit with their family group on the bus.
If we choose to, can we drive our child down there if we don't want them on the bus?
We've talked about that, and that certainly is, if you want to do that, you're welcome to do that. There are some kind of restrictions in terms of, we don't want students driving down for sure. So I know I'm going to get hit up with a bunch of seniors going, "Hey Todd, we all want a caravan down there, and we'll meet you down at Rush." And we don't want to see that happen. And then obviously we've got our adult leaders, small group leaders and stuff like that we're asking to ride down on the bus with us. But if you want to drive your students separately down there and then bring them back on your, separately from the bus, you're welcome to do that. We would just need to know that before we do bus assignments and things like that that's what you're going to ask to do.
Okay. And would you prefer, if we do decide to do that, we're on the fence because we know that's really good bonding time for her on the bus for those 8 hours. But at the same time, we also know that they're in very close quarters with one ventilation system. Mm-hmm. So, but if we were to decide to drive her down there, would you guys prefer that we came to check in at the church first or just to meet you there?
I don't know that we hadn't necessarily thought through that. I don't know that we would have, from our standpoint, if you know you're going to drive your student down there, it's probably going to be easier for us to obviously to know that ahead of time and for you to check in once you get down there. Okay. But it also eliminates, if you want to check in at the church, you can do that too, because we can make sure that T-shirts and we've got all the forms necessary. Last thing we want is for you to show up down there at Rush and we're missing a medical waiver or there's something we don't have, and then we're scrambling and you're already trying to start Rush and things like that. So, if you want to check in at the church, and we can give all the things there that you're going to need, and then if you want to drive them down there separately, then that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we knew that question would come up, so that's a good question.
I have another question. Is our group only exclusive to the Hilton, or will there be other groups there? She brought up ventilation system, and I know some of the stuff can, go through the air and all that different stuff. I just want to know, is our group exclusively going to be only at the Hilton, or will there be, is it open to the public?
It's open to the public.
Yeah, it is open to the public. So we don't have full access just ourselves to the Hilton. So just like every year, there's families vacationing, there's other people that are there. And I'll say this in terms of the Hilton. I know in the email that we sent out, there were a link to the guidelines that the Hilton themselves are taking. So they're taking some, really important measures just for safety and sanitization and stuff like that. So they're doing a really good job just to try to do their best, knowing that there's a bunch of people that are coming. So we don't know how packed it's going to be. Obviously, the week that we're there, we take up a large percentage of those rooms. And even in terms of how we organize the halls and things like that, for the most part, the hallways that we're on, we're the only ones on those halls. So what they've tried to do in the past is they've tried to put their regular hotel guests in another building that's different. So it just helps with noise, because you've hundreds of teenagers in a hotel, it gets a little noisy. So they try to keep their guests a little bit separated from our group. So they'll continue, I think, to try to take some of those measures, and even more so now because of everything that's going on.
Anybody else? Any other questions? If you have one, feel free to unmute yourself and fire away.
It looks like we're getting to all the questions you guys have in the chat. So if for some reason we
Yeah.
miss one, just let us know. We want to make sure that all the questions are answered.
Yes. What is the exact total of middle schoolers that would be attending?
We don't have an exact number quite yet. The deadline's today, so we'll have exact numbers for everything after today is done. So final payments and the cancellation deadline, that's all today. So we'll start to actually be able to figure out who exactly is all going, who isn't, after midnight tonight.
We have to have insurance. Would you want me?
No, he can hear you.
Hey, this is Lisa. I'm trying to find out. So I have insurance. So does our son. My husband is unemployed. He has no insurance, medical insurance. So I'm trying to figure this out. Are we supposed to get like a medical insurance through, like, I don't know if we have the time to do that.
Mm-hmm. As far as like, is medical insurance required for him to be there with us? Is that
Right.
the question?
For my husband to be with us.
Right. And you're both signed up as leaders. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Is the student that's attending, are they on your insurance?
Yes.
Okay. I can't remember how we've handled that in the past, but we don't require anyone to have medical insurance. And since you're an adult, it would be, you would be figuring out how that would go down at the hospital.
Okay.
Yeah, so the fact that it's you and it's not like a student, that makes it a whole lot easier.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because as far as the medical, in waiver and forms, I wanted to make sure that we're all set with that.
Right.
Just due to COVID-19, it's just hard for us to pick it up right now, just because of the guidelines with their medical insurance. So that's why I was asking.
Yeah. Well, and even before COVID-19, insurance was not cheap.
Yeah.
It gets worse and worse every year, as Brian Case can attest to, who I think is still on the call.
Yeah, and we don't ever require students or leaders to have medical insurance. I think it helps us. We've got that medical waiver, so if and when there was some kind of an issue, somebody got hurt or something like that, if we did have to take them to if our medical team had to give any care or take them someplace to get care, then we've got all that information that's readily available. So it's really just for informational purposes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Well, that's it for us.
Well, cool. Thank you guys for your questions.
Besides my 3 emails I sent you guys.
No worries.
Okay.
I had one other question to see. I had a student come up to see if it was too late for them to go to Rush. So after cancellations, or if anyone cancels, is there any opportunity for them to still sign up?
So if there is a student who could get signed up today and pay in full and everything, then we can send them the link to register. They just need to email us and let us know. The link isn't live for anyone to just go grab and to sign up, but we can send it to them if it's something they can do today. So today at midnight is still the deadline for everything. So that'd be the only, I guess, stipulation on it.
Okay, so should I email you at the Rush camp for her?
Yeah, you can
Email?
either do the Rush email, or you could even just send me a chat in this with
Okay,
with the student's contact information, and we can send them the link.
I'll do that. Thank you.
Yep.
Tracy, go ahead. I see that hand.
Yep.
I have a question. I know in the past, leaders weren't able to request rooms with other leaders, but I know there are some families that we've been with over the last couple months that haven't been social distancing, so we've already been together as families.
Mhm.
Is that something worth emailing you guys and putting us together, or will you not consider that?
Yeah, you can. The main factor for leaders, as far as where they're at, is still going to always be, especially small group leaders, is going to be determined by the groups that they're leading. So, for example, if there was an 8th grade girl leader, then it's going to be really challenging to put her with like a senior girl leader, because their rooms are going to be in totally different areas. And we're trying to keep leaders close to students. So in those situations, it would be difficult. It doesn't mean that we can't ever do it. So the more information, again, the better. It's just never going to be a guarantee that we could provide. But if you already know that the other leader that you'd be requesting is a small group leader, same gender, same grade, the likelihood is pretty good in that scenario.
Okay.
It just depends.
Thanks.
Yep. If you got a question, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, Amanda.
Hey, are we going to have a separate leader meeting is my first question.
Mhm.
And are we going to go over like safety stuff in the meeting? Meaning like my younger son is not the best of swimmers. And last year, he like went under in the ocean.
Mhm.
And I mean, I know they're teenagers and young adults and stuff, but I don't know, with address stuff like that,
Yes, yes, and yes. We're going to have a separate leader meeting, and we'll be going over all these new safety guidelines as well as the general safety guidelines that we've always got every year, and just getting everybody on the same page. So yes, we'll be doing that leader meeting about a week before we leave, and we'll be communicating to all the leaders when that is and the details for that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep. You got a question, Sherry?
Sherry doesn't realize she's unmuted.
She doesn't. Let's just let it ride and see what we hear.
She doesn't say anything bad about us.
Oh man.
We caught her. Well, yeah, if there's no more questions, again, we'll that rush@westridge.com email, we'll be checking throughout the day today and responding to questions that you have or information that you need and things like that. So certainly if you've got a question, you can utilize that. Just a reminder that obviously tonight at midnight is the last day to cancel if you choose to do that, and to make final payments. And so we just want to tell you guys as parents, thank you for hanging in with us. I know this has been a crazy few months for everybody, and for us just with Rush, there's just a lot of things that go into something like this. And so thank you guys for your patience with us. And I know so many of your students, like you're hanging on in part because you know that your student wants to be there and needs this. And I think that's in part what burdens us and what drives us to have this event and make as many changes as we can so that we can do that. So thank you for your patience with us as we just try to kind of navigate through uncharted waters in a lot of ways, and through all the changes that we've had to make. One of the questions that was asked is, under what circumstances would you feel the need to cancel Rush? And so we are, even as we move forward with the planning of Rush, we're still monitoring the situation in Florida. So, certainly if there was a spike in cases or something crazy happened, I think we're always going to monitor that. And if at any point we felt like it was unsafe for us to have Rush, then certainly if that moment comes, then we may make the decision to cancel Rush. And so that certainly is still on the table. If we had a ton of people cancel because, for whatever reason they either didn't feel, that things were safe, or they were concerned about some of the guidelines or whatever, and we had a mass amount of cancellations or something like that, we could revisit that as well too here over the next week or so. But we'll continue to monitor the situation, and our hope and prayer is that God would settle things down in Florida, and would settle things across the country, and would enable us to have Rush, and then just protect us over the course of that week, and just to allow God to transform students' lives. And so we're going to continue to pray through that while still monitoring what's going on. So there are a couple of those things that could, we may have to make the decision in the weeks to come to cancel. We're praying that doesn't happen, but certainly that's on the table, and we're monitoring that as we go along.
The only other thing that could potentially, hurt the experience of camp is obviously our leader to student ratio. So if we have a lot of leaders that have to drop out either because of the date change or for whatever reason, and the ratio is not where we need it to be for Rush to be the experience that it needs to be and as safe as it needs to be, that would be another reason for us to cancel. In the event of any kind of cancellation, we want everybody to know everybody will be fully refunded. So no one's going to lose any money or anything like that if we did have to cancel at any point. So we just want to make sure everybody knows that too.
And it certainly is a good opportunity for a leader plug. We certainly could always use more leaders. So especially if the ratios end up getting a little bit lower than what we've had up to this point. So certainly if you as a mom or a dad want to come with us, you've got a heart for students, you'd love to be able to lead and shepherd a group of students, and just whether it be a small group leader or guest services or in another role or capacity just to help with the week, we certainly could use you. And so the leader link, even though the student registration link is a private link right now, the leader registration link is still live on the website. So you can go to westridge.com/rush. At the top there, it says Rush Payments and then leader registration. So you can click on that. And if it's your desire to jump in and help, we certainly would love to add you to the mix. And you help us, put on a great week of Rush.
I saw somebody in the chat asked about cell phones, if students can call their parents throughout the week. Of course, absolutely. We have rules about cell phones when it comes to sessions and small groups, but cell phones are free to be used during free time, during meals. They can most definitely reach out to you and talk to you. Cell phones are not forbidden or anything like that. There's just certain moments where we ask cell phones to be put away just to keep from distractions. But other than that, they're free to use them. All right. Well, friends, in an effort to not take up everyone's afternoon, if there's no other questions, then we'll wrap this up. And we just want to thank you guys again for being a part of this, for either signing up yourself or signing up your student and being a part of Rush 2020. We're excited about what the future holds. And we are praying for you. We're praying for the students. We're praying for the leaders. We'd ask you to join us in those prayers as well. And it just as one more final reminder, today's the deadline to get final payments, cancellations, things like that in. And all that happens at westridge.com/rush. So all those links are live. They're all there. And again, if anyone has any questions between now and then, or you have a question later tonight or anything like that, feel free to shoot us an email at the rush@westridge.com email address. And we are going to get to it as quickly as possible, so you have what you need to make sure to make all the decisions you might need to make. So we love and appreciate all of you guys. We can't wait until, aside from Rush, we can't wait for our church just to be able to be back together and start to work our way back towards some kind of normalcy, and just seeing each other's faces and being able to worship God together again is going to be a good day. So we're hoping Rush is a part of that. So join us in praying for that. And thank you for being a part of the Zoom chat today. We'll close out with some prayer, and then hope you guys have a good rest of your Sunday. Todd, you want to pray us out, my friend?
Sure. Let me pray for us. Thank you for all these parents and leaders and students who are on this chat. God, thank you for just giving us a time to, God, I think for all of us collectively, we know how big of a deal Rush is. And I think for all of us, we long to see Rush happen. We want it to be a great experience for students and for our leaders. We want it to be an amazing week where more than anything else, we see you move in the hearts and lives of students. And God, especially in this time that we've been in over the last few months, students need you now more than ever. And so, God, we're just continuing to trust you. We're continuing to look to you. God, we just ask that, God, your presence would be all over, God, this event. We pray that you would give us wisdom in the weeks to come. We pray for wisdom, God, even for individual families, for parents, for moms, dads, as they're trying to make the right decision that they feel is necessary for their family. Pray that you would just guide them in that. God, we believe that you have great things in store, and that you're going to move in the hearts and lives of students. And so we trust you for that. God, we know that for all of us, we're in uncharted waters, and this is new territory for all of us. And so, God, we just pray that you would just, God, lead all of us with your grace, and God, just give us your patience, and God, with each other, and through all the decisions that are going to be made. And so, God, we're trusting, not only is it going to be an amazing, life-changing week, but God, that you're just going to protect our students and our leaders and our group from the COVID-19 pandemic that's going on, for any issues that may happen on any year. God, just safety, and we're just trusting you to protect everybody that's involved in this. And we're just believing that great things are going to take place. And so we thank you for who you are, and we trust you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
If we for any reason didn't get into any of your questions, you can feel free to email us, rush@westers.com, and we'll try to answer those questions. So thank you guys again so much for joining us, and we hope you have a great rest of your Sunday.